Hello, my chicklets. Thank you for stopping by. Welcome to day 19 of our AU August series. No more breaks from here on out. We're going to the end of the road. There is a slight content warning, so please make sure to check out that description. So let's go into our band AU. The first note. The warm sun lit up the world around him, filtering through the trees as Roman played his guitar, case open in the event someone felt like giving him a little change. It was a beautiful day, not too hot, not too cold, and his guitar was listening to each of his movements. He focused on this moment, and this moment alone. He didn't worry about where he was going to sleep tonight, or the duffel bag in the trunk of his car which held all of his belongings. The day had its troubles, and they would find him, but until he was ready to face that head-on, he would enjoy playing Disney music on his guitar. Go the Distance was a classic, and the upbeat tune would help keep his spirits up. "Excuse me, sir, but you can't play here to collect money." Roman looked up at the cop, and then down at the money in his case. He'd barely collected anything, and that really wasn't his goal. He had just been meaning to take his mind off the whole situation, even if he knew the money would have helped him a lot. "Of course, officer. I apologize. I didn't know." He began packing up his guitar case. The change in the case really wasn't much. He should think about getting a job. But how was he going to do that without a computer? He was screwed, wasn't he? He hadn't really had a plan when he came out to his parents. He just kind of yelled it in anger after what they had done to his twin. At least Remus had his boyfriend Patton to go to. But Roman couldn't impose on them. He was going to need to find a way to get a job and make money. He sighed, rolling his shoulders as he looked up at the sky. "I could really use some help if you're there." "Maybe I could help." The voice came from behind him, and Roman turned around on his heels, looking over at the person coming towards him. "I couldn't help but notice you playing earlier." A man walked up to him, a slight smirk playing on his lips. He looked familiar, but Roman couldn't put his finger on it. He wasn't sure if he should be concerned and worried, or if this really was his salvation in human form. He was attractive, but Roman knew better than to just trust a pretty face. Attractiveness and kindness didn't always go hand in hand. "I do hope you enjoyed the performance." "Always put on a kind face," Roman reminded himself. "You can't take back being rude once you've done it." "I did. Though I wonder if you can play anything more interesting than Disney." "Excuse you! Disney is one of the most interesting genres there is, considering it technically spans multiple genres. Their music is composed by a wide variety of people and always tells a story where good wins. There's always hope in a Disney movie." He crumpled at the end of his words, holding on tighter to his guitar. Real life wasn't always like Disney, and sometimes the good guys didn't win. He really hoped he wasn't about to be robbed. He didn't think he could handle the extra mess. All right. You can keep your Disney." The man was looking him up and down with a calculating eye. "But my band does play songs that have a bit more kick than your good always wins songs. We also just lost a member." He looked at his nails, pretending he wasn't super interested, even though he was wearing gloves. "You can try out if you're interested." The man flipped his hand over and produced a card, it seemed like from thin air. "Maybe we can get you more than just a few coins in your case." Roman took the card, looking at it. It looked legit, but business cards were pretty easy to print, weren't they? He flipped it over in his hand a few times. It had a band name he felt like he recognized, but the font was hard to read. Written on the back were a time and a location. Was he really going to do this? Maybe he should check out the place first. "See you tomorrow, Prince Charming." Those words continued to tickle something in the back of Roman's brain, but he couldn't quite place it. "This is ridiculous," he told himself as he slid into his car. "You're following the instructions of a snake. Are you trying to get yourself killed?" Despite that, his shoulders relaxed as he got closer to the location. He knew this place. A lot of the best indie bands played here. Not that he actually listened to them. That was more of his brother's thing. He would never have a CD from each of the local bands that played here or favorited their Spotify playlists. But if the man had been from one of the bands that played here... Roman grabbed the card and then opened up his phone, connecting to the Wi-Fi to look up the band. And there it was, Serpentine. He was too proud to admit that he had been simping over a few of the band members, and though they normally wore a lot of makeup, the wheels in Roman's brain were turning. The sly smile, the confidence, a blush covered his face. That's why the man had looked vaguely familiar. Janice Drake, lead singer of Serpentine, and he wanted Roman to audition. "O Cupid, why hast thou struck me at such an inopportune time?" Even if he auditioned, it wasn't like he would immediately get paid, and he had more pressing matters. He needed a job. And bands could be fickle. A sigh ripped through Roman's lips as he set the card down. He couldn't audition until he was more stable, right? He looked back at the lounge again and saw a help wanted sign in the window. Except, maybe he could. Especially if he could get hired at the location they performed. Roman could make this work. He was very adept at making things like this work. The sign said closed, but he could see people moving around, and he took in a deep breath. He could make this work for him. Walking up to the door, Roman straightened out his clothes before gently pushing to see if the door was open. He would ask about the job and leave. Roman respected how hard service workers worked, and he didn't want to get in the way, but he wanted this, desperately. "Sorry, we're closed," he heard a very curt man call out. "Actually, I'm asking about the job." "Oh, certainly, but you can just apply online." Do you have a computer here I could use? Mine died." He lied. He might be able to go to the library to use their computer, but he had never gotten a library card, and he wasn't sure what kind of information the library would ask for. The man walked out from the back, polo shirt and a tie, much too professional for a minimum wage worker, but Roman knew exactly who he was. "Logan? Roman? I'm surprised you were trying to get a job here. Weren't your parents against music made after their birth?" He rolled his eyes. "Very funny, but you aren't wrong. Thankfully, they don't have much say over my life anymore. Remus and I got out." Again, not necessarily a lie. Logan looked him up and down with the piercing gaze that seemed to rip through all of the lies Roman was trying to build. But all he said was, "Good for you." Then led Roman to the back and pulled out his own laptop. "I expect you not to go snooping through it." "Of course not, Your Excellence," he teased, and Roman pulled up the website, immediately going to fill out an application. If Logan had anything to do with the hiring, maybe Roman would have a chance. Even if he didn't, someone like Logan was probably valued for his opinion. Roman's hope was blooming in his chest. He was nervous about this, but things were looking like they might work out. After everything, he closed the computer and went to give it to Logan. "Thank you, Logan. It was most noble of you to help me." "Yeah, well, I'm just paying back what you did for me back in high school." "Really, it was nothing. Anyone with common decency would have helped." "Yes, well, many high schoolers in our town were lacking in just that." Logan nodded. "The store manager will look over your application, and you'll probably hear back tomorrow." Roman smiled brightly. "I would appreciate that a lot." His job wasn't necessarily taken care of, but it was promising. And if he could also audition for the band... Roman looked over at his guitar and duffel bag before looking back down at his phone. If he kept working like this, maybe he could save up a bit of money before too long. He could ask to stay at Patton's for just a few days, just until he was on his feet. Roman sent a text while he was still in the store's Wi-Fi. "Hey, Pat. Sorry to ask. Could I crash at your place for a few days?" There was an immediate response. "I'm so glad you asked, kiddo. Of course." He let out a slow, happy breath. Tomorrow, he auditioned for the band. And maybe he could get a job and the gig. He would start the life he wanted. Thank you all for listening. Again, this was the first note. Speaking of notes, I left one for myself that I completely forgot about. At the bottom of the AO3 document is, "I might add more chapters to this later." Might. I think that's still a might, but this really is a cute universe. I could play with this. I do hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you have a wonderful day.